Hello, it's John Moody here, and I'm going to talk about my updated Moody Sash window and explain some of the new features and also apply it to these two houses. Here is the wooden house that is still supposed to eventually turn into the abandoned house tutorial by the Blender Guru. And here is the bottom part of a brick house that we'll add windows to. All right, so let's get right into it. First off, let me append Moody Sash window to this scene. Okay, I'm going to go to Collection and find Window Collection and append that. Okay, after a little bit of time, that will add these different collections to my scene. And let's start by unchecking frame parts. And now I'm left with my window, and I'm just going to drag it up to where I think it's going to go. It'll probably be right around here. This is a wooden house, and so the window will be all on the outside. Whereas a brick house, the frame will be inset. So this is a different scenario. I think this will be about where I want it. And now let me use the hole cutter function of Moody Sash window. So I'm going to select the frame of the wooden house and go to the modifier section and add a boolean modifier. Okay, take the eyedropper and we're going to find Moody's hole cutter. Okay, so I can click it here, or I could click directly here and find it. Okay, so that worked. Looks like my window is a little bit too deep because I see some of the blue lines going through, so let me move it up ever so slightly. This also has an interior wall section, and this man, it looks kind of like an Oscar. But he's supposed to kind of make sure that the dimensions are right. According to the abandoned house tutorial, which I have not finished. So let me add a boolean here. And this time I'll go up to this. All right, fine. Okay, I'm selecting just the window, grab Z. And let's make this a southern cottage style window. So let's make the lower window bigger. Maybe make the upper part smaller. Okay, and I'm going to add some horizontal sash bars to the lower part. Okay, that looks pretty good. Let's see, this has the tilt latches here. And I like the lock style. I think I'd like this to have a screen. I go down here. So I'm going to check screen and nothing is happening, and that's because I don't have screen casement checked. Okay, now they're both there. Now I can uncheck screen and I still have this screen casement. What that is this little extra space here to allow the screen to fit in. And also with our screen, we have an option for a half screen or a full screen. Okay, most of the Sash windows around where I am are half screen, but we do have a few full screen, but I'm going to stick with a half screen. All right, and let's go ahead and make this a 3-window deal. So I'm going to add the left sash window and middle sash window are all the same. And in fact, there's a lot of middle windows that are fixed windows. So let me try that. Okay, and oftentimes the middle window is wider. So the width of both the middle sash window or the middle fixed window is right here. The lower part of the middle sash window, or the right above the switch for the fixed window. So I'm going to make this, that looks about right. And we can add some bars there. Good. Do one more. Let's open up one of these windows, let the air in. Okay. And I'm also going to move this whole thing to the left. Grab X. Okay, when I moved it, it kind of changed the boolean for the inner window. So let me address that. When things like this happen, I often find success by just moving either from exact to fast or from fast to exact. And that did the trick here. Okay, now before I go on, I'm going to add some louvered shutters to this. And I do have a Moody's louvered shutter product that's available on Gumroad or Blender Market. So let me append that. Go to collection, there it is. Okay, so to make these work, I'm gonna move the cursor to the selected, which is the Moody Sash window. Then I'm going to, here, let me uncheck the shutter parts here. Then I'm going to select the Moody's louvered shutters and I go Shift S, selection to cursor. And that centers them. And I change the width and change the height. The height of these goes just to the bottom part of the upper sill. It's about there. And I want to adjust this middle lever or bar so it's about in line or a little bit above this. So middle board, and there it is, a little bit up. All right, so these are shutters that go with this cottage style window. One nice thing about this new hole cutter in this updated version is that it just works and you don't really have to adjust it. So I'm going to select these, go Shift D to duplicate, grab Z, we're gonna make a window up here, and let's just make this a single window. So uncheck these, and I'm gonna want these about the same height. The upper windows will not be cottage windows. Let's see if that, I need to make it a little bit smaller. Then let's select the shutters and adjust them. I'm using Shift to get a little bit more ability to adjust. Let's get the height right. So height. There it is at the upper part. Get that middle board in the right place. And we're done. I forgot to mention with the louvered shutters that we need to get these up against the edge. So we can do that with a pivot point. Nice. So that pivot point is 0, 0, 4. Let's do that with this one. Okay. And also let me make sure that this looks good on the inside. This is sticking out a little bit far, and I can adjust that with the outer frame depth. I'm gonna move that in. We just don't want this little corner in. Okay, so outer frame depth does that. So that's 0.098. Let's go upstairs. .098. And now these windows are all set. Okay, notice that the hole cutter just moved fine. The hole cutter is in this wooden house. It is set to work with a wooden house. If I go to Moody's hole cutter here, you see that it is designed to work with wooden house, Windows wooden house. Okay, and pretty much we're set. I can just make some copies. Let me add a few. Let's do the upper window, Shift D, X. Let's make 3 upper windows. Grab X, Shift D, X. Let's make 1 more window to the side, Shift D, X. That's going to be about center. And again, let's make this 1 window and adjust the shutters. All right. To get the windows on the side, Shift D, X. I get it about halfway and just rotate Z 90. Okay, grab Y, try to center it. There's probably a good way to center it, but I haven't figured that out yet. Grab X. Okay, the boolean is still working for the outer wood planks, but they're not working for the inner. So I'm going to go in here, select the wall, and yeah, I think I made these separate walls inside. So I just need to create another boolean and use hole cutter. Ah, good. So this happened. Let's see if this will solve itself just by pressing fast. And it didn't. Okay, maybe the width of the wall isn't the same. So let me see if I can correct this by changing the outer frame depth. Okay, that's as deep as I want this to go. And let's select that. Actually, that's too deep. That corner is still popping up. That worked. Okay, so sometimes there's little issues that you can deal with the booleans. They're most all solvable. At some points, I've even had to make another collection. So far we got all these windows, and they're no, sorry, we have all these windows, and they're in this Windows wooden house. These windows are set for the brick house, and let's go ahead. I think you get the idea with the wooden house. The brick house is going to have some different challenges. So let's take one of these regular standard windows and shutters, Shift D, grab Y, and I'm going to get this in the vicinity of the brick house. Right around there. Grab Z. Okay, and I'm going to be after a kind of an English style house here. So I'm going to try to get the this lined up so that the shutters are just right. Okay, that's about right. Now, the brick houses are totally inset. So let's start this. This is going to need a different hole cutting solution from the one with the wooden house. And so the way to achieve that is to make these hole cutters go to different collections. So I'm going to drag this window and put it in Windows. This is set Windows, Windows Double, Windows Triple to work with brick houses, or houses that you have to get the interior kind of hole matching the material on the outside. So let's see what we're dealing with. Okay, I'm going to select my building here, add a boolean. Okay, there's the option, Moody's hole cutter in. So that's getting the interior of this hole cutter. So it turns out that you can actually use two booleans. There are some tricky ideas involved, but this has the hole cutter in is pretty much the same as the Windows one. It's just totally surrounding the window. This one is the hole cutter out. And let me, so there's in, out, and then in 0.001, out 0.001, and then 0.002, etc. And each of these are associated with different collection. This is with Windows, this is with Windows double, triple, etc. And you can make copies of these and add more if you'd like, but this kind of gets you started. Okay, so now let's go select this again, get another Boolean, and we're going to click on the hole cutter out, and there it is. Now in reality, this should be totally inside the window. I'd say about here. Maybe even a little bit more. Grab Y. So even right there, there's a little bit of the outside. And this has annoyed me, and this is one of the big changes to this new update, is we're going to eventually get this inside of the bricks looking like bricks and not just some weird hole in the bricks. Okay, but first off, I want to get this looking right. So I think I want it a little less deep. So that looks about right. And we're going to want this Boolean hole cutter thing to be within the range here. Or we don't want it so that we can see this hole on the bottom. So I'm going to move it with a Y translation there. So now this Boolean is getting things right around on this side of the wall, and it cannot actually, well actually it's just kind of surrounding the window, and this Boolean is doing the outside. Okay, now brick houses almost always have, or they always have, a lower sill that's either concrete or brick. So here are our options for that. Here's the original brick sill visibility, and we got these bricks that come up. These are separate bricks and separate mortar. Now, the problem is that we have to make these bricks look like the texture. The other option is to use this brick/concrete sill visibility. Now, at this point, it's kind of doing a concrete texture. I chose this texture randomly from like Blender Kit, but it's supposed to look like concrete, and you can use your own texture down here. The goal is that, actually I want to change this to be brick. So this will work for concrete, and notice that the bottom part is horizontal to the ground, the top part is slanted to let the water go down. What we're going to want to do is find this. Okay, it's this area. And I'm going to want to change the lip angle to nothing. So now it's just square, okay? I'm also going to want to rotate the bricks in a negative manner. So somewhere around -4 or 5. Okay, and these bricks are meant to be these bricks, just facing long ways, facing out and long ways. So let me change the length, vertical length. Okay, duh. Okay. That looks like this is about the same size of that brick. Okay, so now let's address in order the situation we have here where we're not seeing the bricks. What we need to do is select our exterior, and we need to add another texture slot. Okay, then we need to make that texture slot the red brick of before. Type in red. Okay, there it is. And I want to make this unique, so I'm going to press that. And I'm going to change the end of this to hole cutter. Then I'm going to go to my shading tab and find the hole cutter, and it's being a little elusive. I found that, let's see, I can select find node and just pretty much hit any of these and it's going to pop up. Okay, now what I want to do is get rid of the texture coordinate, X to delete, Shift A, S to search, M, S for Moody Sash Window Shader. I'm going to go Moody's Sash Window Shader Hole Cutter. Okay, this pops up and I'm going to connect the UV Unwrap node with Vector, Material Location with Location, Material Rotation with Rotation, and Matte Material Scale to Scale. Okay. Now that this is done, let's go back to this view. Select our hole cutter there and go to the geometry or the modifier area. And for a hole cutter material, we're going to select that red brick hole cutter. And there you go. The red brick is there. Now, unfortunately, it's not lined up with the bricks here, and that's why we have this setting. So I'm going to move the Y, and actually let me get a little bit more width now so I can see the bricks better. Okay. I need this to be a little larger. So there's UV scale, and that looks like it might be about right. That's too large. Okay, so we're going to have to narrow in on the, this can be a tedious part, but we're dealing with the same material. So, there is going to be something that works. We can rest assured. Okay, it's getting close. That's 0.498. I'm going to kind of remember that. Still too big. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Looks like it's just a hair too small now. So let's go 0.483. So by the way, I'm going right. These UV scales change for the material. Sometimes you'll be making it less. The material will get larger and sometimes more. You just have to figure out what the material is doing and go with it. And yeah, so these are lining up. Generally, what I found works is I go to the top and kind of get them lined up and then kind of see how it is in the bottom. I mean, this is pretty good. Okay, so this is totally lining up. Now I'm going to line up these, and I do that with the X location. Now, I noticed some of the mortar is right here on the edge, and so I can possibly fix that by messing with the Y translation of this. Nice. So now we need to get the bricks on this bottom sill. And what we're going to do here is go to the textures. Pretty much most of the textures are all here together, and this one is down at brick concrete sill material. okay? And I'm gonna find that red brick hole cutter. There it is. You know, and this actually looks pretty good. Sometimes you have to deal with these white lines up here, but this kind of worked, you know. Nice. I could basically go with it, but you have options to mess with the scale, and right here, you know, that might be more realistic. And there, those lines popped up. Ah, that looks pretty good. There's a little bit of this peeking out, and let's see if we can kind of match them. Okay, so they're just a little bit hanging out, and I can solve that with the translation, the Y translation. Let's just move those bricks that much in. Nice. So now we got the side and the bricks all from the same material. Let's also get the window changed a little bit. So let me get the width here, right? And let's get this taller. So height. I just remembered that, you know what, I'm not going to do that. Anytime you change the dimensions of the window, it's going to mess with this. And so that's why I have these different categories. So you need to kind of choose your window size and go with it. But let's change some features here. Let's make this kind of an English window. I'm going to change the lock style to that type. Let's see. Let's add some sash horns. When I add sash horns on the lower window, it's going to get rid of this latch because they would. Okay. We have a handle now that actually is down here. There's a handle you can lift it, and there's one on the upper part that you can lower it down. That's a handle kind of like the ones at my house. They would not have screens, I doubt. So I'm taking those out. And let's add a pulley system. Okay. I'm going to change the handle style. There's basically a handle 1, handle 2. And I'm going to make these lifts. And up here, I can either add, these are pull eyes, or it could be the opposite of whatever kind of handle you choose. All right, so that's a nice English window. I have it set now so that you can deal with the basic color of your window directly with this top setting here. So let's see. If I change this to, you know, this looks pretty. Now that could be that's the blue of the house that I happen to have. And everything has changed. Actually, let me take a baseboard material. That's the same color as the baseboard down here, so that they match. And I just thought it's easy to have one control to get the different materials. However, if you want real specific control, like for instance, your plastics would have a different reflection than your wood, or you know, this is painted metal. Well, wonder if I wanted it to be a nice pretty brass. Well, I have a switch here that will actually add that material. Latch key, tilt knob. Okay. So now, that's good. Also, okay, they would have a tilt knob. Rather than a tilt latch, they would have a tilt knob. Right. So now we have our English window. I can make copies now, Shift D, X, And this will work just great as long as it's the same size. So now when I figure out where I'm putting the window, I also have to take into consideration how it lines up with the brick. Grab X, and here they're lined up. But this is, these sides will all line up. It's all fine. Once I add a different window or a different width, Shift D, I'm going to have to change it to a different setting. So let's go ahead and make this very different. Let's add another window. Let's just make this 2 and change the shutters. This hole cutter is the same as these. So if I adjust this one to get it right, it's going to mess up these. So the only solution, again, is to take your window and stick it in another one of these. So now that's right, and select this, add 2 more booleans. So 1, 2, and let's take the inside. So this is hole cutter in 001, and this is, okay, that's good. So far, this doesn't have the same brick setting, so let's grab this and add the red hole cutter material. So there it appeared. Now, since this is wider than it is tall, we're going to have to rotate the UVs here. Rotate them 90 degrees. 90 degrees. And now do the same deal with the scale. So again, this is tedious, but once you get it set, it will work for all the windows that are the same size. And that'll make you think about how many sizes you're gonna have. Actually, that worked pretty well. That was pretty quick. And so now let's get these lined up, the X location, and I'm also going to see if I can, how far I can move this and still have the boolean work. Okay, that works. All right. So this is the basic idea. You can add windows around, and you're probably going to want to choose the same size windows, seeing as you won't have to work that hard anymore. But there are lots of ways you can customize these. This is a nice pulley system. You can have the separate windows open and close. Let's open the upper one. You can see how the pulley system works. I think you could actually see the rope move. Oh, you can change this from rope to chain. Nice. All right, so that's wraps up this tutorial. If you have any questions, email me or post on Blender Market or Gumroad, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. But I think that these are, these windows could work in pretty much any scenario. All right, thank you very much, and hope to see you again soon. Goodbye.